All right, I'm back again. Had a storm in Tulsa get triggered for a tornado warning just a couple of minutes ago. So we're going to go ahead and cover that one as well, since I do cover the state in general. So thanks for coming back and joining me. So let's get on right to it. Let's show you the radar view, which does have us in the velocity mode, which is showing us the storm around the east side of Tulsa now. So very strong rotational couplet within this. The location of this tornado is located right on 66, intersection of South Garnet Road, so just south of 44. So it's on the east side of Tulsa. If you follow 244 eastbound, turns into 44, and intersects with 66. That's just about where it is. Currently over this little neighborhood on East 7th Place, South 117th Place. That's coming up now in the intersection of East Admiral Place and also South 129th East Avenue. So that is the position of this particular tornado. Let's see here. Let me get the wording on this as well from the National Weather Service. Moving to the northeast at 44 miles per hour. You need to be in your shelters for this particular tornado. It obviously is going to have some, other than the tornado threat itself, we'll have your standard typical severe weather threats too. All right, let's take a look at the wording on this from the National Weather Service. Let's see. Tornado warning continues for southeastern Rogers County, in northeastern Oklahoma, and east central Tulsa County. Storm capable of producing a tornado located over Tulsa, moving east at 45. Radar, of course, flying debris will be a problem if so. Tulsa itself, International Airport, all, of course, east of there coming up. And then we've got Catoosa. Includes Interstate 44 between mile marker 222 and 239. So that is the latest with this, along with some hail about an inch or so in diameter. And it does have an official update here in the purple, which does mean they've just now updated the warning to include an official sighting or damaging tornado. Radar confirmed. We have Tulsa, Catoosa, Inola, Broken Arrow, Verdigris, Tulsa International Airport as well. And this is all within the next about half an hour for the effects of this particular tornado. So we're going in here to zoom in. Location on this now is pressed just past the east of what I was mentioning for the intersection. So it's still coming up on East Admiral Place. It's kind of running just east-west along that, and East 145th Avenue. So it's on the south side of the interstate. So that is the location of this particular tornado warning and this particular tornado storm. Let's see here. Yeah, the rotation character is quite strong in that area, so really good radar confirmation on this. And we're going to do a couple of things here. One is, I'm going to switch to different radar views too. We're going to look to see what the debris signature starts to show. And so I'm going to load that one up. So load up a different radar up here in northeast Oklahoma. So again, if you're watching from Oklahoma City, we're fine. Everything's good here. We had a storm down in southern Oklahoma, which has since diminished and dissipated. So we're now kind of focusing our attention out here into northeastern Oklahoma, where this storm kind of formed on the Bow Echo apex, which ends up being more of a QLCS type tornado. So it's on the leading edge. So a little different configuration, but the point being, it looks like it's going to produce some problems up there. So we're going to look that data up here in just a second once that loads. Velocity looks pretty good. I'm going to go through the last couple of scans. Let me do a backfill on the data. Switch this over to reflectivity mode as well. And the track on this for times, let's see here. We got Catoosa, of course, now, Inola, Choteau, Pryor, Sportsman Acres, Locust Grove, Salina, and Spavinaw. So all of you folks are in the path of this particular tornadic storm. Now, it may not carry a tornado that entire time, but it's going to have one at least in the short time. All right, finally getting the radar data loaded. And let's see what we got here. And we may have to track a couple of them. In other words, there may be a couple in this line develop. I'm kind of starting to see some indications, maybe a new one forming down here north of Broken Arrow. So we're going to look at that as well. We'll see if that radar data just came in as an update. Let me see if that one was forming. And it looks like it was trying. Let me see if it did so. No, it's still trying though. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that one. The old circulation looks like may be diminishing. Let's take a look at the algorithm for the debris signature. I'm going to split this into two. All right, so we're watching correlation. Yeah, so actually it did actually produce a little bit of damage. So this is a lowering area. So this is where it co-locates with the circulation at the radar level. And as long as those are co-located, then we have confirmation that there was damage. And there was. It wasn't very significant. In other words, it doesn't appear to be a very strong signal of debris, a weak signal for debris. So it does mean it was a strong enough tornado to do some damage when it went through. And that's a pretty populated area, pretty populated neighborhood and whatnot. So there's going to be a little bit of damage here. Hopefully everybody's okay. And that's kind of in between 244 and 40, that little split there. Southwest of that interchange is where that was located. Newest data has this kind of lifted. As far as I can tell, the last location was East 11th Street and East 145th Avenue. That was the old location of what was left of it. It may still at least be a wall cloud. It could even be a funnel at this point in time. Radar indications for tornadic activity, though, seems to have weakened dramatically compared to the last couple images. Yeah, so that's a good sign. It was very short-lived tornado, only a couple of minutes, a few minutes, but like I said, it probably did a little bit of damage based off the radar indications. Let's see here. Flip through a couple of products. And it could still reform another one, even if it did lift. I'm not saying that it has. Just treat it as though it's still potentially on the ground, even though the signature is much weaker now. On these leading edge QLCS spin-ups, they may not always have a great strong reading with them. So we're going to treat this as it's still potentially on the ground. It's just moved over Highway 167 coming into Catoosa. So stay in your shelters if you're in Catoosa for this particular tornado-warned storm. And again, the wording on this will update you. Just now it came out. They canceled the tornado warning for East Tulsa County because it's moved out of that area. Let's see here. Otherwise, it still continues east of there. So we mentioned Catoosa, Inola, etc. Over the next 20 minutes. And we can go back to this image for that. And we'll get an update on the time from the algorithms. So again, Choteau, Pryor, Locust Grove, Salina. This is all in the next. Now, it will not be on the ground this whole time, but this is where the location of the damage that we're talking about. Circulation, okay. Let's go back here to the other radar. Not that one. We want to do this one. Okay, so let's go back here to the high-res terminal Doppler weather radar. Let's see what we got here. And we're going to see if it's still our best ability, still on the ground. No, it's broadened out, weakened tremendously, so that's good. There may be a new one though forming that we talked about going over Catoosa. The old one though is since gone, but this one it's still a weak. Yeah, right there, real quick. This was likely legitimate on the west side of Catoosa. Let's see. Yeah, that's some pretty good data there. Yeah, a really quick spin up that went through Catoosa. And of course, that's over a populated area, so it's through a neighborhood region and highway region. So hopefully everybody's okay. But that's where the signature was, and then it since diminished. It looks like a little noise. Go to 1 degree. So that, if so, that was a very short-lived one. Moved right through. That was the latest. What the latest data said. Sometimes you get contamination in that at the low levels, but that was an area of spin in the atmosphere. Whether or not some of that data was contaminated, it's going to be hard to say. Looks like the algorithms favored that region. Let's see, whatever else I got on. And because it's not a classic type situation, it'll be hard to see on the reflectivity product, which is what this is. But it's in that favored area, so you might as well just count it as something that may have been, but it's gone. But we still have this whole area here, which could produce another quick one, given the circumstances. Just a large area of shear overall in general. So even though one may not be sighted and currently detected on radar, just go ahead and stay in your shelters until this thing passes. So Fair Oaks, of course, Catoosa, just stay in your shelters for just a couple more minutes, and then it'll be heading out toward Gregory, Nola, Vertigras, and Tioga. All right, let me switch to another site. Okay, so the new weak area of convergence is in this region here. Let's see, which is right along 257th Avenue and Apache Street. So if there's going to be anything, wall cloud, potential funnel, that's where that would be located. Looking above at different layers in the atmosphere, I don't see anything that is imminent. But that would be the overall region that we'd be focused on. That's running right along the river, as a matter of fact. I mean, seriously, running right through the river right now. That bends east out of Catoosa. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so far, good news, meaning we haven't had any confirmations, no reports. The radar is completely different than what it was before. Just for a couple minutes there, it looks like we had a tornado likely on the ground there for a few minutes, and it's lifted. I don't see anything new, so that's good. So we can breathe easy for right now, but stay in your shelters because, again, that's in an area that has been known to produce a tornado. So this is what we call a line echo wave pattern, LEWP for short. And you're going, okay, well, that's fancy. What does that mean? It just means it's a mini squall line, basically, which runs from Bartlesville here in southeast Kansas, just to the south of Tulsa, and it bows out in like this little S shape. So I'll draw on it for you. It kind of does one of these things. And it's in this little S shape here where you get vorticity that wraps up along the leading edge and spins into it. And you get kind of an area of low pressure that develops back on this region. And then that sends the jet down from the mid-levels to the surface. And that helps to interact. So basically then you have the winds that come down this area. And it interacts here at the ground level with the winds that are coming in from this area. And you get this chance for little vorticity spin-ups, what they call QLCS tornadoes. So that's what we've got going on right now east of Tulsa. Now if you head south out of that, the broken line continues to Beggs, Bristow, Welty, Prague, but none of these are anything like that. They're all weak, garden variety thunderstorms. Some of them have a severe thunderstorm warning on them, others don't. They're at that borderline of it's even necessary. All right, let me go down back here to check on southern Oklahoma. Still a lot of storms there in North Texas. So far, they're all behaving. They're just severe thunderstorm warnings. Nothing else out of the ordinary for that. Let's see, which radars do I have up? Change this one over. Okay, so an update here. And I'm going to give you the whole line. So not necessarily just the tornado itself, but the line. Because we may have to deal with a couple of QLCS type tornadoes within this. Moving east at 47. East at 47 miles per hour. All right, it's a big line, but between now and the next half hour or so, I know that there's coming in at 7:43, 8 Air 7:55, Pryor also 7:55, Choteau, Welch 8:01, Bonita 8:02, Afton coming in about 8:13, Miami comes in at 8:17, so it's a quick mover as you can tell. It's covering a lot of territory here. Jay 8:28, Wadenet at 8:29, Grove 8:29 also, Oaks at 8:30. So there's a lot of communities in the path. There's this line of storms. In this particular severe thunderstorm warning, which leads the leading edge of these, they're issued about every 45-minute window typically. So this one will end here in just a couple minutes, and they'll reissue with a brand new one to cover the same threat. Now, if the radar does detect a tornado type situation, then they may change over a couple of these to tornado warnings. So you see the word tornado possible. Do you see that? We call that a tag. It's a tornado tag. In other words, it's still a severe thunderstorm warning. So it's a thunderstorm warning that means a tornado is still possible within that. Now you're saying, why not just issue a tornado warning? Well, because the QLCS type tornadoes can spin up really fast and go undetected, and or by the time they're detected, it's too late to issue for them. So this kind of covers that occurrence, and hence the difference. Otherwise, you wouldn't see that. You would just see a regular severe thunderstorm warning and no big deal. But that is what is potentially on the table, therefore, that is what's being discussed. But you can see the word tornado possible in this entire line. So usually once the Weather Service has one, they kind of just err on the side of caution here. But here's the line of storms going all the way down toward Inola, and then back down here to southern areas of Tulsa through Broken Arrow, Coweta. And Coweta had a tornado moving through town not long ago, and then Haskell, and that's kind of where the leading, the bottom end of where the really severe type storms end. I'm going to switch this over to the velocity data, and we'll see if anything jumps out at me on this particular mode. Let's see. From this view, everything looks okay, looks good. Potential for a tornado. Well, it's got a small hail potential. It doesn't really, the algorithms don't jump up, but a tornado potential looks like for this. That's good. Flip this back over, and then we're going to go to another radar view. Okay. So, same idea. I'm just going to kind of look at the line here, see if anything comes out. There's going to be a little bit of wind with this. I'm seeing some pink shading. That's winds around 50 miles per hour. That's not terrible. I mean, it's not even a severe thunderstorm criteria wind, but that's what's there on the leading edge. Let's see. There is some weak residual circulation center right here, which I believe, opens some trees. I couldn't see any roads with it, so it's over a good spot for it. Let's see, that's going to be crossing over Vertigus River, and Gregory School Road is coming up after that, just a pass north of Gregory, it looks like. Let's see, it's about a mile north of Gregory, right along the highway 412. It's very, very weak, so don't get overly excited. It's just that's where that location of that weak leftover circulation is located. It's not a tornado, it's just kind of what was left behind. All right, down the line, everything looks good temporarily for now. Interesting enough, the algorithms did kick up here for a probability of a tornado at 44%. Let me see what they were doing earlier on when this thing was actually producing a tornado, right? Go back in time. Let's see how they did. Probability of a tornado was 20%. And then when it happened, still 20. Let's see, let me go way back. 15%. So it ramped up. It went from 15%, that was a 20%, and then it went to 28%. Now, this at the time actually was producing a tornado. And now it's 32%. It's still producing one on Doppler radar. At this point in time, it was falling apart, and the algorithm kind of held at 32, and this new one came in at 42. And it kind of kept the circulation riding it at 44. And circulation is really gone, but it dropped it down under 32%. So we've talked about this before. When you use this research-based algorithm, it's not really ready for deployment. So we're using this as, experimental type deal. The stronger factor in that is not the actual final number. Obviously you would think 100% chance of a tornado, right? It's statistically, that's not the end game. The end game is, does it ramp up higher, higher, higher? And then does it stay that higher number before it starts to drop? So that's kind of how you read into that. So when I start to call these things out, which I do every time I broadcast live, that's how you use that tool and to kind of tip our hand as to which way the storm is going that we can discuss. Okay, so that's the latest. They did reissue, or at least reconfigure the warning. Let's see what it says. Because, the old one expired. So let's see what they did. They kept it going until 8, just in case something happens. So, again, this is just in case. Let's see. And that's all it is, moving east at 50. All right. Includes Interstate 44 between mile marker 242 and 245. So that's new. Otherwise, same old. Leftover old circulation, not much happening with it currently. But just in case they were to decide to do a quick little spin up, which I do not foresee at this moment. So that's the good news. Location is about to cross over Highway 88, it looks like. Let me go to this picture here. So there's Highway 88. And let me switch this over. So what's interesting is, if it's a tornado, you're going to know about it. And how so? Well, because if you notice, the radar is located right here. And the circulation center is located right here. So what you would see is a very well-defined gate-to-gate couplet, a very small, concentrated area for where the tornado will be passing through. So that's how you know that it's not a tornado, because, trust me, this radar presentation would look a lot different being that close. I mean, it's seeing just literally, I'm going to tell you how far off the ground, because it isn't much. Let's zoom in here. All right, we're looking at 150 feet off the ground. So trust me, if there's a tornado there, it's going to see it, clear as day. On this particular NextRad radar, the beam width is a lot wider. So as the tornado is farther away in that beam width, it just looks like a tiny point. But when that tornado is right here in the front of the beam width of the radar, it's right here, it fills up the beam, so it can see it clear as day. So when they're this close, it's a piece of cake. And right now it's saying that there's not a tornado, so it's good. We said State Highway 88. I don't have a cross street because there isn't one. It's just in the middle of trees and stuff. So getting over a non-populated area. That's good. I think there might be a farmhouse. It might be a farmhouse out there. That's about it. It's hard to even find a cross street or a crossroad. Sometimes I can pull up these little county roads, and other times they don't even show up. They're not even named in the database. So if they're not named in the database, it's hard to pinpoint where it is. But looks like Comarin Lane that comes off of Highway 88 is the closest intersection, and it's southeast of there. Let's see, it's coming up on, here's a couple of roads. Does this one show up? What we got? Nothing. Nothing like it. Man, slim pickings. So when you do this, you have to say, okay, well, in that case, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4 miles, 5 miles northeast of Gregory. And then you say about the same thing for Tiowa. And then you point out east of Highway 88, right? Let's see, there's an East Road 560. So I finally found one that would show up. So it's just northeast of an intersection of East Road 560 and Highway 88. It's the best I can do you. All right, check out the rest of this line. Make sure nothing else gets crazy. So far, it's all behaving. The probability of a tornado has dropped down to 25%. So that continues to decrease. That's a good way for that number to go. Just saying. And if you're wondering, you saw probably got a notification I was going live on Facebook, and then it started, but then it stopped, and then you may notice another one. That's because I had a YouTube issue and I had to restart it to get YouTube going. All right, so it looks like we've got a new tornado warning down here in southern Oklahoma that just popped up a few minutes ago. So better go check that. Happened while I was focused on Tulsa. When they're in two different parts of the state, well, it makes it difficult to keep tabs on everything. Let's go to this one. All right, so this is down around Dotery and Springer. Believe it or not, this is that old storm that we tracked from a long time ago. All right, how's it look on velocity data? Okay. It wasn't the best, but there was a couplet here. So it would be a F0 tornado, very weak. And you guessed it, it's over nothing. Literally nothing. I mean, there's nothing. Nothing but nothing. But not even hardly any bushes. Probably the tornado was 11% there. Let me go back a step. It was at 4%. So it did ramp up from 4 to 9 to 11. So that's the latest. So that was a little ramp up. It wasn't very strong, but that's where that potential tornado is located. Let's see here. So it'll be crossing in between Springer and Dotery here along highway. Of course, that's 77 and also 35 coming up here soon. So let's do a track on that for you and show you what's going to happen with that. Let me take a look at the products here. Looks okay. All right, very, very weak. Was it ever strong? Just a couple of frames there was enough to trigger the algorithm for a little bit better, but then it weakened right about the time the tornado warning came out, and that was it. That's very short-lived. That's only a couple minutes. But hey, that's the way we like it, right? Okay, and this mess. Ugh, what a mess. All right, let's get the latest, by the way. So, tornado warning for central Carter County and in Murray County in Oklahoma. Severe storm capable of producing a tornado located 5 miles east of Poolsville, moving east at 20. Tornado and quarter-size hail. Radar indicated rotation. And Turner Falls in the Lake of the Arbuckles in the path of the storm. Includes Interstate 35 between mile marker 41 and 50. All right, so that's going to pass it north of Ardmore. There's more storms down here in North Texas going nuts. This one here around Denton's pretty nasty. It's got some big hail with it. It's a nice little supercell. Okay, for whatever reason, they're not producing any tornadoes down there right now, but we have had now apparently possibly two with this one storm from what, 35 minutes ago or whatever it was, an hour ago, and then now this one. Okay. So let's do some analysis here. By the way, a little quick check here on this one for you guys. near Inola. There is still no low-level circulation with that. So before I go back down to the south, I'm going to check this here real quick. There is a little teeny tiny couplet here. 27 mile per hour outbound, 22 inbound. All right, that could be potentially a weak EF0 tornado. Let's see if this other radar shows that circulation. No, man, that is so weak. I didn't even see it. All right, might just be just a little too far away. So small. Okay, so this one is the warning on this is a tornado warning for southeastern Rogers County and southwestern Mays. Storm capable of producing a tornado located 3 miles east of Kiowa, moving east at 45. And then we've got some towns and communities in there: Pryor, Choteau, Locust Grove. Same ones I mentioned before, haven't changed. So stay in your shelters for this new warning off this new tiny circulation center that may end up doing something. Let's see. Let's go back up here. I'll get back into southern Oklahoma in a second. I gotta split the state. And right now this has had at least the better history. Let's see. Yeah, it's just so weak. Does that have... Let's do something. Just want to make sure there was no debris signature on this. I don't believe so. No, but very, very weak. Okay, this is a leading line out here in eastern Oklahoma, which won't be in Oklahoma much longer. The way it's moving pretty quick. Okay, so they did update the warning on this, which typically means either have a higher correlation, which I looked at that debris signature, which like, it could be, and then maybe what's in the wording. So let's take a look. So they do have a, quote, damaging tornado based upon radar confirmation. So when they say that, it's because the debris signature was showing up. Now, when I looked at it, it looked really weak, and so my confidence was pretty, I was like, yeah, it could be, but it's not a very strong signature. When they're seeing it, they're like, yeah, that's strong enough for us to keep the tornado warning going and increase the wording a little bit. Still may not necessarily mean confirmation, but it's another element to kind of enforce the strong wording. Because again, on the velocity data, it's just not there. It's just very weak. But that's a good thing. But there still is that little CC correlation right here. That's very strange. All right, we have to assume, in this case, County Road 4280 and East Road 550. That's where this potential tornado is located. There is a lull in this CDR. So when you factor those two, it's got to be, even though the wind speeds on this are terrible. I mean, just non-existent. That is so wild. You normally don't ever see that. I mean, I can tell there's a little weak circulation center there, but I would have never otherwise called that a tornado without any other confirmation. So I don't know. It's. Let me look back here. I guess we just gotta assume so. It's the only thing I can think of. Anyway, let's see here. Stay in your shelters for this particular tornado if you live between Pryor, Sportsman Acres, Mays County, out towards Salisaw. It's going to be a minute before it gets to you, of course, Soto. Let's do another track on that. I got to get back into southern Oklahoma to see what's happening down there as well. Let's see here. Track on this one. All right, so there's Salina at 8:20, Spavinaw at 8:30, and Jay at 8:49. Kind of gives you an idea of what's left of that tornado signature is doing, which is coming around along Highway 2 here momentarily. All right, so back down here into southern Oklahoma, let's do this here real quick, and let me load in. Let's see, P1. Turn this off. All right, so we're going to interrogate this one again. And find out what's going on. So that circulation has really increased since the last we looked at it. Genotry at 8:30 is the town that comes up, and that's a while. It's a ways. But you have obviously some other towns here between Doherty and Springer coming up on 35. So this is a good broad circulation center there. And I believe it's still over that open area, so there was no threat to anyone for a moment. Oh, let's see, wrong one. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, let me take a look at another view down here. Back this up. So actually, I looked at it just at the right time because it just now increased just a hair, but it's still not that impressive. All right, so where this thing is located is, you guessed it, bushes, trees, farmland, minus the farms. So there's been no threat to life or property there for the time being. That's another reason why we spend a little bit more time over there in the Tulsa area covering that other tornado warning. All right, algorithms, what are we at? 6% of a tornado, so they've actually decreased. They were at 11%, remember, and they went to 8. And now they're at 6. So if you go off of the ramping structure we talked about, it should mean no tornado. Now, it still is a number, and it still has a category, so I don't ever want to say that without more analysis. But for now, it looks like just a mess of a storm. Weak circulation, but in the right spot. A little broad, though, and not over any open area. The intersection is going to cross over, though, so that'd be helpful here at, let's see, where are we? About 5 minutes from now. It's going to be Highway 53 and 35. So 53 and 35 is right here. And so this is where the tornado is located. So it basically, or potential tornado, I should say. So it's basically do something like this. So those folks that are out there on the roadways. And then, let's see what we got. Alright, we'll see if this ramps up. It's what we're looking for is this inbound wind right here and this outbound wind right here. So we're looking for that to kind of just tighten up a little bit more. It's a little broad, a little diffuse, but that's what we're looking at. Alright, so some big storms still down here in North Texas between Gainesville and Denton over at Singer Outlet Mall. The rest of Oklahoma, quiet. The storm up here in Tulsa, they've dropped the heavy wording for the confirmed tornado, and they're back to possible potential in that area. All right, so back down here, Springer we go. And we're going to see what happens here. So, Weather Service just put out a statement saying the same thing. Broad and weak rotation with the tornado warned storm. Just keep an eye on it. And we'll see what happens. So that's what we're going to do. Keep an eye on it. So here's something else. Because this is a combination of two storms, you have your main location here from our tornado warned part of it. But back here on the southwest flank, you have new development, and this could end up developing something in this region. Because right now it's a hybrid split system. It's two cores. So we'll see if something develops out there. Not in the immediate, but maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes from now, maybe something will start forming. Alright, anything else on this one? Nope. 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 Ooh, winds picked up quite a bit this last scan. This is a value of 62 miles per hour. If we would get a tornado out of that, it would be an EF 0. But we need this to tighten up. It's just not doing it. It's interesting. What's interesting is that we have an anti-cyclonic circulation here. We've seen anti-cyclonic tornadoes, so that would be this region here versus the main region we're looking at over here, but there was never any good tightening. It's too broad. The incoming wind is still on this edge of the storm. The outbound wind, or the RFD, is still on this side, so it's got some good winds, but then sometimes you get this curlicue back effect with another updraft. So in other words, you get wind that kind of splits here, comes this direction, and then gets pulled in to an inflow going into a new cell here. So you get this convergence area and you get an anticyclonic tornado. Now the 1 degree tilt shows this little split better of here and here. It's an interesting storm, though. That's for sure. Is this one starting to act right? See what the next scan gives us. Again, we're watching in southern Oklahoma, way south, almost to Ardmore. So this is the other thing is, okay, so I'm talking about these colors, right? So the issue is we're about 4,900 feet. We're 5,000 feet. We're basically at the very top end of where you'd even want to even say you've got a tornado, all right, as far as tracking like the column of the vertical motion of the air within that feature. So we're kind of pressing the border here. But regardless, the point being was with the radar located here in Norman, you have inbound and outbound wind. Well, if it's an inbound wind, you're going to have a green color going this direction. If it's an outbound wind from the radar, you're going to have a red color going this direction. So we have to look down here in this cell to look for those outbound winds, right? So in this case, your green is heading toward the radar here. Your red is heading away from the radar here. Your green is heading toward the radar here. And your red is heading away from the radar here. So what you get is I'll draw an L to represent it, but a low-level circulation here for the original tornadic circulation center. And you might try to get one here, which is very, very weak, diffuse, not doing much. But here, you get an anticyclonic tornado represented by this H. H we use for high pressure systems because the air flows clockwise around it. L for counterclockwise. So you get this ebb and flow of air, if you've noticed. Anything's possible in this configuration. So that's what I'm saying. It's very interesting. It's very unique. But this is coming right over 35, currently as we speak in 53. That's the original circulation. This new one is about 1, 2, 3 miles west of that. So if it were to be anti-cyclonic, let's see what do we got here for roads. Anything? Bueller? Horse Apple Road and Hereford Road. So it's southwest of there would be the anti-cyclonic tornado. Should one be forming. And then from there, we don't have any roads for this other one here in Carter County. But it's about another 2 miles west of that one. All right, this little thing popped up, went from a 5% chance of a tornado to a 2%. So according to the algorithms, this thing is trending down to nothing. But the velocity data still says, you're keeping an eye on it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at it. So this is always a good visual I like. This is the height of the storm. Alright, so this is 35,000 feet. It's low top supercell. But what happens is with the radar beam, this is literally a look between the surface of the earth and where the radar can capture the storm. So if you notice, there's a gap right here between the ground level and the base of the cloud, aka storm. Not really the cloud because you just can't see it. But the radar beam rides up. So if I were to draw you a picture of a radar beam, so this is the dome, this is my little stick figure drawing of a radar, right? The radar dish inside this dome looks like this, a little beam thinking like that. The radar beam, instead of shooting straight, it shoots up. So if you have a storm that's right here on top of the radar, well, it gets the low level really good. But what happens is, when you have a storm that's out here, guess what happens? You can't get this part, right? Because the beam curls up. It's not flat like this. Now you're saying, why does it go up? Why is it not flat? Because of the curvature of the earth. So this is where you can win an argument over any flat earther that says there's no curvature to the earth. You can dispel that myth right away. You can see it every day in storm structure. So because we can't see down here, we don't know what the storm looks like down there. So this is this representation right here. We have no idea what's happening in this 5,000 foot column. So what we do is we see this column here from 5,000 foot on up, and we have to infer what's happening at the surface. So there's an example of radar meteorology about what we have to do when the radar or when the storm is very far away from the radar. And the farther away it is, the less data we have to work with, which means the more guesswork, more assumptions, the less accurate, more false alarms. So anyway, that was a little explanation for you. Hope that was educational. We do a little Meteorology 101 here at AT's Weather when we cover severe weather events. Let's see here. We always follow that 1980s mantra, the more you know. Remember those commercials? If you're old enough to remember those. That was back when they put good stuff on air. Before everything was... Well, I can't really say that. It's been propaganda since the day that everything's been invented. So, let's just say that was better propaganda. Alright. So anyway, enough of that. I just want to take a look at the storm. And let's go back to the flat view, which is what you're looking at here. It says a 2% chance of a tornado down here in southern Oklahoma, this deal. Winds still just looking as sad as they were before. As far as tornadic potential goes, still has some pretty good straight line winds with it, so there's probably a bound of 60 mile an hour wind gust in here. But the tornado warning on it has been canceled, just because what we talked about. All right, what else we got? The one in Tulsa, is that still going? Yeah, we can go take a look at that one. So I'll switch radar views. Let's go back on up there. First off, is this one seeing anything? Nope. Alright, let's try this other one. Nope. Alright, so in this particular case, we stopped watching this one closely because the radar signature for producing a tornado vanished. There wasn't anything there. And I was like, I just don't believe it. So we're going to wait to see if something changed, and it never did. So that's good. That's good news for you. So if you're out here and you're watching, you're panicking because I didn't cover it for very long and I got off of it, well, it's because I go wherever the action is. So if it's lost its action, I bail for a little bit and then I come back and check on it. But regardless, you should always stay in your shelter under a tornado warning. Don't ever come out until it's expired or been canceled. Okay. Looking down this line. By the way, percentage of a tornado on here is 3%. So that's come down quite a bit. Alright, so this storm, they're going to keep that warning going though. They just drew a new track, so they're going to extend the warning. So I have an update for you. This is what they're looking at, this little area here. And you're like, well, where's the red and green? I said, well, there isn't any. It's just, in this particular product I'm looking at, it's all red going in this direction, but there's nothing coming back in this direction, right? At least in base velocity. So we have to go to storm relative, which allows for the spinning, which allows for the storm movement itself to combine with the environmental movement, and that gives you a slightly different wind change. So let me update the speeds on that, and we'll see what it does. So in this case, what's the wind speeds here? About 28 miles per hour inbound and 6 miles per hour outbound. So this is still the location area, but it's just nothing to write home about. And if I look this way, what is that? 53 miles per hour. So it does have some good wind depending on which radar product you're using. But there's no other signature that says tornado, which is good. Now, could one form there? Yeah, could. Potential. Possible. But not this very second. Alright, let's see. Let's go to the Tulsa one. Maybe this will show me something better. Where are we at? We are at 1,800 feet and 35 miles away. Same idea, just nothing very exciting. So if I don't get excited, you don't get excited, right? All right, let's read the latest on the warning. So it's a tornado warning for, again, east of Tulsa. It covers Delaware County and Mayes County, the southwest Delaware, southeast Mayes, if you live in that area. Storm capable of producing a tornado, located near Salina, moving east at 45. Radar indicated rotation. And we've got J, Salina, Snowdale State Park, Locust Grove, and Rose. We can go with the other map and do a track on that one. By the way, what's happening down here? Same old, nothing. All right, let's go back over here. Let's get off of that. Okay, let's turn that off. This on. Track that with the speed. Oh, I can't do both at the same time? What's that about? Well, that's bogus. All right, tornado warning till 8:45, moving east at 45. That's the official wording. And then here's the track. So J, Decatur, Gravette, Sulphur Springs, and Noel between now through about 9:15. Now, truth be told, you see these little inflow bands here? This little inflow band here. You have to watch these for QLCS type tornadoes. These are inflows to updrafts. And you get anything that spins in the environment that can get pulled in that updraft to do this, you get a tornado out of it. That's what I call the QLCS tornado is. Very hard to predict, very short-lived, usually very small, usually very weak. But sometimes that can lead to that. And that's why you will occasionally get those just-in-case warnings. So that's what we got going on here. And let me look at the line. Some storms up here in Kansas, by the way, but they're pretty weak. From Columbus, Pitcher. All right, it's going in here to Miami. And we'll look along this line. So where you see these little red, hot pink spots, probably of a tornado, 2%. Let's see here. That's a wind speed of around 50 miles per hour. There you go. 40s to around 50 miles per hour. These little hot pink areas on the leading edge of the line. That's not quite a severe thunderstorm. Okay. Just looking. We're looking for needles in a haystack. Alright, let me take a quick peek down south into southern Oklahoma. What happened with our storm down here? Died. Split into two. Still has this weird weak configuration. Never did anything with it. Too broad. Too weak. Que sera, sera. Alright, heading down to Dallas area. Wow, they're still going gangbusters down here on this one. Around New Hope, Prosper, Salina. Big hailstorm here. Up to around golf ball size. And probability of a tornado is 43%. What? Alright, me just my curiosity. I'm just going to go down here and look real quick. We do have a radar very close to this storm. So I shall take a peek. Otherwise, in the state, the only tornadoes we have, well, we don't have any currently, but the only warnings that we have is in northeast Oklahoma. Was it Mays, Delaware? No, top of my head, I'm trying to remember what I just read. East of Tulsa. So what was that? So it's around coming up toward J and Colcord eventually. East of Pryor, east of Choteau, south of Spavinaw. Alright, let's go back down here to Dallas. Alright, how's this one look? That's a mess. So it's strange configuration. It's kind of downdraft dominant. There's some maybe inherent circulation up here on the northeast side of the storm, which is why I like weird configuration. It's a weird place for it. But the algorithms seem to favor it, probably because it's in an environment that's suitable down there for that. And it's the first storm leading the others. So it's going into an untapped area. So if you guys up here around McKinney and Allen, you might have to keep a heads up just for a little while. Greenville, as it rolls through that area, just in case it decides to do a little something other than just producing some pockets of damaging wind. So yeah, anyway, I was just checking on stuff down there since the southern Oklahoma stuff fizzled. All right, back up in northeast Oklahoma we go. Let's take a quick look here. Now remember, you can track all this on my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Download it, Apple, Google Play, like right now, as we speak. And then from that, you can track these storms in case I'm not on doing a live update. It has all the high-resolution radars here in Oklahoma. And you can pull them up, and you can do your own analysis on the fly. And it'll show you the warnings, and you can even pull up the storm track arrows that are on there. And you can, in that arrows, there's a button you can tap on the arrow itself, and it will show you what's inside the storm. Now, the last time I tried to show this, the studio lights kind of messed that up. So let me see if I can't show that to you. Let's see if I click there. All right, now I'm gonna try this again. Try this again. Let's see how this works. I'm gonna stick this right in the camera's face. So on the app, there we go. Is that going to show it? Come on, focus. Focus. You know what? Let's do this. That's too small. You can't see that. See me hold up a camera or a phone. All right, there we go. Now you can see it. So it says Locust Grove, right? Now, if you notice, there's little arrows on there. See those little arrows? Those are storm tracks. See that little white box at the end of an arrow? I'm going to tap a white box. So let's go to this guy down here, just because it's easy. This one I'm looking at. So I click on the end of that arrow, and it pops up this little box here that says Meso. Meso stands for mesocyclone, moving east at 31 miles per hour. And it's got some other little information on there, and it gives you a little fan pattern, right, for your storm track to give you the little movement. Now, what I'm going to do then is click that same white box. I'm going to do that, bam. Look what happens. It's a hidden menu. In this hidden menu, it tells you the max DBZ of the storm, it tells you the parameters, such as how big, tall, wide. It lets you know if there's going to be hail or anything in there. And see that cities list? I can drag this little line right here, and that'll tell me cities and time of arrival. So when I say you can do your own storm tracks, you literally can. So just in case I'm not on for whatever reason, this will tell you all the information you know that's inside a storm. And then you can stay safe that way. It's called AT's Weather to Go. Apple and Google Play. It's free. All right. Let me go back here to this radar real quick. And if I don't see anything else happening, I'm probably going to let you go. Of course, I say that and I take a few minutes off and then another warning comes out because that's the way it goes in my world. What's this one down here in Boynton? 31% probability of a tornado. Of course it did. Okay. It does look a little fishy as far as configuration. Okay, but it's in a sea of mess. I mean, total mess. So that may be one I have to come back on for later, but I'll probably let it go. Yeah, so let's checking this line out one more time. Just don't see anything that's got my attention short term. So again, you don't ignore a tornado warning ever. You stay in your shelters, you seek shelter. Just know that I give you extra benefit information to let you know if there's one confirmed, if it's spotted, if it's been seen, or if it's stopped the radar indicated, etc., etc. All right, so that's what's happening up there in northeast Oklahoma. And that's really about it. That's all I got here for you. All right, so what I'm going to do is, again, you can track these storms at far eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and southwest Missouri as they come in over the next hour or two. And I expect that tornado warning to be canceled and not reissued just because there's nothing on there that I can find to keep it going unless they just want to be a just in case, right, for a QLCS type. It's the only I can think of. That's just to be extra cautious. So until then, I'll be signing off. So thanks for watching, your support, your stars, your YouTube, everything, your comments, concerns, questions, hanging out with me. And if I don't have any other storms that are trying to produce a tornado, this will be it here for the evening. If they do pop back up, I might come back on. Well, I should come back on. I might. Come on, Aaron, get with it. I will be coming back on, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, take care. Talk soon. Bye.